In the cold emptiness of space, where no life could survive without the careful planning of advanced civilizations, something unexpected happened. It was a day that started like any other for Earth. The stars glittered in the night sky, and the hum of the planet's routine went on without a hint of the chaos about to unfold. But everything changed in an instant. Deep in space, far beyond the range of Earth's sensors, an unknown ship appeared. At first, it was just a small blip on the radar, barely noticeable among the countless objects floating in the vast expanse of space. But the moment the ship began to approach the planet, it sent a signal so powerful that it pierced through Earth's defenses. The ship wasn't just sending a distress signal, it was a message of life, an alien message. This message was received by the Earth's most advanced military satellites. However, the signal wasn't easy to decipher. It was fragmented, filled with strange symbols and sounds that no human had ever encountered. Still, the government of Earth immediately understood one thing: this wasn't an ordinary visitor. The strange ship continued to grow larger on Earth's radar, and its course was clear. It was heading directly for Earth's atmosphere. There was no turning back. Military officials were called into emergency meetings as they debated how to handle this unexpected arrival. The world's leaders, sitting in their secure rooms, were filled with both fear and curiosity. What did this alien ship want? And what kind of beings were aboard? As the hours passed, the ship got closer, its massive form now visible in the skies above the planet. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen, an enormous craft shaped like a jagged, twisted mass of metal and unknown materials. It shimmered under the light of the sun, appearing as if it didn't belong in this part of the universe at all. The world's most advanced telescopes turned their lenses toward the ship, trying to glean as much information as they could before it arrived. But even the best technology could only do so much. The ship was too far, its technology too advanced for any of Earth's systems to fully comprehend. The human population, sensing the tension in the air, began to stir. News outlets around the world began broadcasting live images of the ship's approach. Social media exploded with theories, fears, and questions. People wondered if the aliens were friendly or hostile. Governments remained silent, but every nation on Earth was readying their military forces just in case. Then, as the ship drew closer to Earth, a sudden shift in the atmosphere occurred. A massive shockwave shot through the air, causing electrical grids to flicker and the skies to darken. The ship had entered the atmosphere. Earth had just become ground zero for an event that no one could have predicted. The ship's descent wasn't smooth. It cut through the clouds, leaving behind a trail of chaos in its wake. It crashed into a remote part of the planet, far from civilization, but not far enough to be unnoticed. The impact sent tremors across the land. Earthquake alarms went off as the ship made its way through the planet's atmosphere, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. For a moment, everything was silent. No one knew what to expect next. Was this the end of Earth? Had the alien ship arrived to destroy the planet, or had something more mysterious taken place? A team of military specialists was dispatched to the crash site. They were prepared for anything, though none of them were prepared for what they would find. As they approached the site, the first thing they noticed was the strange, alien material scattered across the landscape. It looked like the ship was made of a living, breathing material, something completely alien to human understanding. The air around the ship was thick with an unknown energy, pulsating and shifting. The team reached the wreckage, and what they discovered inside the ship made their blood run cold. There, lying motionless but alive, was a creature, an alien beast. It was massive, covered in strange scales and armor-like skin. Its eyes, still open, reflected a deep, eerie glow as if it were waiting for something or someone. But what shocked the humans even more was its apparent weakness. This creature, a being capable of causing destruction beyond their wildest imagination, had crash-landed and was now helpless. Its once fierce and powerful body lay on the ground, breathing shallowly, struggling for survival. The crew froze in disbelief. They had no idea what to make of it. Was it dead? Was it alive? And why had it come to Earth in the first place? The world's governments were quick to mobilize. The situation was too important to ignore. The world's attention was now firmly fixed on the alien creature. It had crashed on Earth, and no one knew what to do with it. Scientists, military personnel, and governments were all suddenly interested in understanding this alien's origins. The creature seemed to be an apex predator, but it was now in a vulnerable state, struggling to survive. But here's where things took a strange turn. While the rest of the galaxy saw the alien as a potential threat to be eliminated, Earth had a different idea. Humanity, often underestimated and seen as weak by the rest of the galaxy, saw something else entirely. Perhaps this alien was a victim of forces far greater than it. Maybe it was deserving of their help. What would happen if Earth's people, known for their resilience and compassion, chose to help it? As the first humans cautiously approached the creature, a surprising decision was made. Rather than killing the alien beast, they chose to help it. They understood that in order to survive in a universe full of uncertainty and violence, they might need allies, even unlikely ones. And thus began a new chapter in the history of Earth, a chapter that would change everything. This opening sets the stage for the unfolding drama, introduces mystery and suspense, and leaves the audience eager to see what happens next. The atmosphere surrounding the wreckage was tense. The alien beast, though appearing frail and vulnerable, was still a creature from a completely different world, a potential threat. Humanity had only just begun to understand the vastness of the galaxy and the different kinds of life it harbored. For centuries, Earth had been the home of humans alone, and now, in a moment of desperation, they were faced with something entirely foreign, something that could very well destroy them all. But instead of acting on fear, as many of Earth's leaders suggested, there was a shift, a movement toward mercy. The alien was not just some mindless monster. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't hostile. It was hurt, stranded, and lost in a foreign world. It made no sense for Earth's leaders to respond with aggression when the creature had made no aggressive moves of its own. Captain John Harris, the commanding officer of the expeditionary team sent to investigate the crash site, stood at the edge of the wreckage. The alien creature, though still breathing, was unable to stand. It appeared to be unable to communicate, though its eyes followed them intently, scanning each human as if measuring them for something. "Do we really want to kill it?" Harris asked his team, his voice low but firm. "This could be our chance to learn something about the universe, to make peace, if it's possible." The decision was not an easy one. The creature was an apex predator, one that could potentially destroy everything Earth held dear. Its towering frame, the armored plating on its skin, and the sharpness of its claws made it clear that if it had been in its prime, it would have been an unstoppable force. But the alien was not in its prime anymore. Its once powerful form lay crumpled and weak on the ground. Its body shuddered with every breath, and its eyes, though still glowing with an eerie intensity, lacked the fierceness they had earlier. Some of the military members standing behind Harris were reluctant, their hands resting on their weapons, ready to fight at a moment's notice. They had no reason to trust this creature. After all, the universe was vast, and humanity was still at the mercy of forces beyond their comprehension. Yet Harris wasn't so sure. He looked at the beast again, this time not with fear, but with curiosity. What if this was a chance to show that humanity could be different from the rest of the galaxy? What if this alien, despite being a predator, had something to offer, something the galaxy hadn't considered? The military officers around him argued. Some were adamant about killing the creature, ensuring that it couldn't pose any further threat. But the science team, who had been studying the creature from a distance, spoke up. They argued that there was a real chance to learn from the alien, to understand its biology, and possibly even to communicate. If they acted with caution, they might just find a way to help it. "We can't just leave it here to die," Dr. Samantha Turner, one of the lead scientists, said as she stepped forward. This creature may have information that could help us. It's a living being, not a monster. We can study it, and who knows, maybe we can learn something that could help protect Earth." Harris took a deep breath, weighing the situation. The decision wasn't easy, but in his heart, he felt the right thing to do was to show mercy. The aliens who had been watching them from afar would expect humanity to act in violence. They would be surprised if Earth chose to do the opposite. "We'll give it a chance," Harris finally said, turning to his team. "We're going to help it. We may not fully understand it, but we can't just leave it to die. If we want to show the galaxy that humanity can be more than just another warlike species, this is our moment." The team nodded, though many of them remained unsure. It wasn't an easy thing to set aside the years of conflict and fear that had shaped humanity's worldview. The history of Earth was filled with wars, betrayals, and struggles for power. To show compassion, especially to something so foreign and potentially dangerous, was a choice that went against everything they had been taught. But it was also the right choice. The next few days were crucial. The creature, though still weak, was carefully moved to a containment facility. It was treated with the utmost caution, but also with care. The scientists worked tirelessly to analyze its biology, gathering samples, studying its structure, and attempting to make sense of its alien origins. It had been injured during the crash, and its condition was deteriorating. The humans quickly realized that if they didn't act, the alien might die, and they would never get the chance to unlock the mysteries it held. The creature didn't resist. It was too weak to put up a fight, though it did sometimes stare at its caretakers with those glowing eyes. They couldn't decipher what it was thinking, but they could tell it was aware. It had been abandoned by its people, left to die alone on a strange planet. In a way, Earth was its only chance for survival now. It wasn't long before the creature began to show signs of recovery. Its breathing became more regular, its eyes clearer, and its movements, though still sluggish, began to improve. It had an alien diet, something that humans could not replicate, but they provided what they could, hoping it would be enough. As it grew stronger, the humans began to notice something else. The alien was no longer just a simple predator. It had a mind of its own, and it seemed to understand them. Every time a human approached, its eyes would follow them carefully, as if studying them. They began to realize that this creature, once seen as a mindless beast, might actually possess intelligence beyond their understanding. The mystery surrounding this alien grew deeper with every passing day. The world watched as the creature recovered, and Earth's leaders debated whether to allow it to roam free or to keep it contained for further study. Some feared it could still be a threat, but others saw an opportunity for something greater. Could this creature, this alien beast, be an ally? Could it offer something humanity desperately needed? The story of the alien creature, once abandoned and left to die, was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. As the days passed, the alien's condition continued to improve. The humans who had initially feared it began to see a shift in its behavior. It was no longer the wild, unpredictable creature that had crash-landed on Earth, but something far more enigmatic, a being that seemed to possess a strange intelligence and awareness of its surroundings. At first, the scientists were careful, approaching the creature with caution. They were still unsure of its capabilities, and every time it moved or made a sound, the room tensed. But over time, it became clear that the creature wasn't just recovering physically. It was starting to communicate, albeit in ways that the humans didn't fully understand. Dr. Samantha Turner was the first to notice this change. One morning, while observing the creature from behind a reinforced glass wall, she saw its head turned toward her. Its large, glowing eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment, she felt as if it was studying her, recognizing her as something more than just an observer. She leaned in closer to the glass, her breath fogging up the surface, and instinctively pressed a hand against the cool barrier. The alien mirrored her actions, lifting its own hand up to the glass. There was no physical connection between them. But in that moment, Dr. Turner felt a strange bond, as though they were communicating silently. She couldn't explain why, but it was as if the creature understood her. As the days turned into weeks, the alien's condition continued to improve, and it started to exhibit more complex behaviors. It would sit and watch the humans interact, its eyes following their movements carefully. Sometimes it would even mimic their gestures, as if trying to understand their actions. The humans, in turn, began to learn more about it, paying attention to its reactions and trying to decode what it might be trying to convey. One day, as Captain Harris entered the containment room, he was startled to see the creature standing on its own for the first time since its recovery. It was still unsteady on its feet, but the fact that it was up at all was a significant milestone. The creature's large, intimidating form stood tall in front of Harris, who instinctively took a step back. But this time, there was no hostility in its posture. Instead, it seemed almost curious. It stared at him, its glowing eyes reflecting the lights of the room, and for a moment, neither of them moved. Then, slowly, the creature reached out. Its hand, large and clawed, extended toward Harris. He stood frozen for a moment, unsure of what to do. Should he back away? Should he fight? But something in its gaze held him in place. It wasn't attacking. It was reaching out, in the same way a human might. Cautiously, Harris took a step forward and extended his hand toward the creature's. The moment their hands touched the glass, the creature's eyes flashed, and for the briefest of moments, Harris felt an odd sense of connection. It was as though the creature understood him, not just in the physical sense, but on a deeper level. They weren't enemies. Not anymore. "Do you understand?" Harris whispered, more to himself than the creature. But the alien's steady gaze seemed to answer him. Yes, it did understand. The moment passed, and the creature withdrew its hand, but there was a shift in the air. It was subtle, but undeniable. Harris knew that this was a turning point. No longer was the alien simply a threat, an unknown force to be feared. It was becoming something else, something that could no longer be easily dismissed. As the scientists continued their studies, they uncovered more clues about the alien's biology and its origins. They found traces of an advanced culture within the creature's DNA, signs that it came from a race far more intelligent than they had ever imagined. The creature's body, while incredibly powerful and dangerous, also showed signs of advanced technology integrated into its very structure. It was a living weapon, but not one that had been designed purely for destruction. Dr. Turner began to believe that the alien was more than just a soldier, more than just a mindless beast. It had intelligence, it had purpose, and most importantly, it had feelings. As the team continued to interact with the creature, they began to communicate with it in small ways. They would gesture toward objects, and the alien would react, sometimes with curiosity, sometimes with recognition. At one point, Harris brought in a small holographic display, showing Earth's star systems. The creature's eyes narrowed as it watched the images, its head tilting to the side, as if understanding the significance of what it saw. For the first time, Harris realized that the alien was capable of learning. It wasn't just surviving. It was adapting, evolving in response to its new environment. The question now wasn't whether the creature could be trusted. It was whether humanity could trust itself. Could they really allow this alien, once abandoned by its own people, to live among them? Could they show the galaxy that humans were capable of mercy, capable of compassion in the face of something so alien and dangerous? As the creature's recovery continued, the world watched. Some people feared it would only be a matter of time before the alien turned on them. Others saw the creature's recovery as a sign that humanity had something to offer the stars, something the rest of the galaxy hadn't considered: the power of empathy. But not everyone was convinced. Some still viewed the alien as a threat, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. And as tensions rose, both within the human ranks and among the other galactic powers watching from afar, one question lingered in the air. Would the alien, once left to die, prove to be humanity's greatest ally or its greatest adversary? The weeks went by. Humanity's relationship with the alien grew increasingly complex. No one could deny that the creature was more than just an animal. It had an intelligence, a drive, and an understanding that suggested it wasn't just a mindless beast. But still, many wondered, could it ever be fully trusted? The alien, whose name the humans had never learned, seemed to be gaining more and more understanding of human culture. Dr. Turner, who had been the most vocal advocate for studying the alien, was both thrilled and cautious about its rapid development. She noticed the creature studying human expressions, copying small gestures like nodding or making hand movements. But it was the small things that stood out to her: its fascination with music, the way it watched human interactions with an intensity that suggested it was trying to learn the emotional depths of those relationships. One day, during one of the many observation sessions, Dr. Turner decided to try something different. She played a piece of music, something calm and soothing, a piece of human classical music. The alien was sitting in its observation room, as usual, but this time its attention was fully captured. As the soft, flowing melody filled the room, the creature's large, glowing eyes narrowed, and its head tilted slightly to the side. Its body remained still, but there was something almost peaceful in the way it sat. Dr. Turner watched closely, unsure of what to make of it. The alien had never shown any interest in human culture like this before. Could it be responding to the music? Was it starting to understand the emotional power behind something so simple as a song? Days turned into weeks, and the alien's behavior grew more and more complex. It had stopped acting aggressively, instead focusing on observing and mimicking human behavior. However, one question remained: why had it been left to die? Why had its own people abandoned it to crash on Earth, injured and alone? Captain Harris had his suspicions. He had studied the creature long enough to believe that there was more to its past than anyone knew. He started asking questions, questions that the government and military didn't want answered. Why had the alien been so far from its home? What had caused it to crash? Harris soon uncovered something disturbing. He learned that the alien was part of a much larger conflict, one that had been taking place across the galaxy for centuries. It wasn't just a random visitor from another world. It had been sent to Earth as part of a war that had escalated far beyond anyone's comprehension. But that wasn't what disturbed him most. What troubled him was the fact that this alien had been sent on a mission by its own people, a mission that had failed. It had been abandoned, left to die in the depths of space, because it had been marked as expendable. The more Harris dug into the alien's history, the more he realized that this was not just a random creature from another planet. This was a being that had been part of something much bigger, something that involved treachery, betrayal, and the cold realities of galactic politics. Harris took his findings to Dr. Turner, who was shocked by what he had uncovered. Together, they began to piece together the truth. The alien wasn't just a casualty of war. It had been a prisoner, an outcast, someone who had been discarded by its own people because it had failed in their eyes. It had been left to die, stranded on Earth with no hope of rescue. In the days that followed, the alien began to show more signs of communication. One day, it tried to say its first word, a strange and guttural sound that echoed in the room. Harris and Dr. Turner both turned to look at the alien, surprised by the attempt. "It spoke," Dr. Turner said, stunned. "Do you think it's trying to talk?" "I think it's trying to connect," Harris replied. "But what does it want? What's its story?" The truth was, they didn't know. And as much as they wanted to believe the alien was simply misunderstood, they couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something much bigger was at play. The alien had not simply been stranded on Earth by accident. There was a reason it had been left to die. And Harris was determined to uncover that reason, even if it meant uncovering a darker truth. Captain Harris, who had been conducting his own investigations into the alien's origins, finally discovered something that sent chills down his spine. The alien wasn't just an outcast from its people, it was part of something much more sinister. The galaxy was embroiled in a war, one that spanned centuries, and involved multiple factions. The alien had been a soldier, part of an army, and it had failed its mission. It had been left behind by its own kind, deemed unworthy of further service. The discovery was shocking, but it raised even more questions. Why had it been sent to Earth? Why hadn't it been recalled by its people when things went wrong? Was the war it had been part of still raging across the galaxy? As Harris and Dr. Turner continued to study the alien, they began to realize that this was no ordinary being. It had been a part of a conflict far beyond the comprehension of humanity. It wasn't just a random soldier. It was a casualty of war, abandoned to fend for itself. But now, humanity had a chance to make a difference. The truth was, the alien wasn't just trying to survive. It was seeking redemption. It wasn't just an abandoned soldier. It was a being searching for its place in a universe that had cast it aside. And in the process, it had found something unexpected: humanity. The bond between humans and the alien began to grow stronger, as both sides slowly, tentatively, reached out for understanding. The alien began to trust them, responding to their gestures with less hesitation. And humanity, in turn, began to trust the alien, understanding that it wasn't a monster. It was a creature just like them, trying to find its way home, trying to find its purpose. Captain Harris knew that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. The future of humanity was intertwined with the future of the alien. They had the chance to change everything, to break down the walls between species, to create an alliance that would change the galaxy forever. But they also knew that this path was dangerous. There were forces out there, forces that didn't want peace, forces that would stop at nothing to ensure that humanity and the alien remained enemies. But for now, as Harris and Dr. Turner stood in front of the alien, there was a glimmer of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, this creature, this being they had once feared, was the key to saving not just itself, but all of humanity. And so they took their first step together, unsure of where it would lead, but knowing that there was no turning back now. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, they had hope. The alien, once an outcast, now had a place with humanity. And together, they would face whatever came next, united as one. As the weeks went by, the bond between Captain Harris, Dr. Turner, and the alien grew stronger. It was almost surreal. What had once seemed like an impossible situation, a creature stranded on Earth and abandoned by its own kind, now felt like a partnership. The alien's behavior, its attempts at communication, and its growing trust in the humans around it were all signs that something profound was happening. And with every passing day, humanity was starting to understand the alien in ways they had never imagined. Dr. Turner had been spending hours trying to teach the alien basic words, starting with simple concepts like food, water, and safe. She was using visual aids, pointing to objects and repeating their names. The creature's eyes would follow her every movement, and although it couldn't yet speak back in a recognizable way, it was responding to the sounds, mimicking gestures, and slowly becoming more familiar with human communication. Captain Harris watched the progress with a sense of quiet pride. He had seen the alien struggle, but now it was trying to connect with them, trying to form bonds. And for the first time, Harris wasn't looking at the creature as a potential threat. It was more than that now. It was an intelligent being, one that had been lost and forsaken, but also one that was seeking a purpose. One afternoon, as Dr. Turner was showing the alien how to use a tablet to watch human videos, something unexpected happened. The alien, using its long, slender fingers, tapped the screen in a way that looked deliberate. It wasn't random. It seemed like it was trying to engage with the content. Harris leaned in, intrigued. "What's it doing?" "I think it's trying to understand our culture," Dr. Turner said, her voice filled with wonder. "Look, it's focused on the images. It's paying attention to the people and the environment." The alien's eyes were locked on the screen, studying the humans who appeared in the videos, their faces filled with emotions. It was clear now that the alien wasn't just trying to survive. It was trying to learn. It was trying to understand what made humans different from everything else in the galaxy. It was as if it was searching for answers, trying to find something to hold on to. Then, unexpectedly, the alien spoke its first complete word. Peace, it said, its voice rough but clear. Dr. Turner and Captain Harris exchanged a glance, their faces filled with shock and disbelief. Did it just say peace? Harris asked, his voice barely a whisper. Dr. Turner nodded, her eyes wide. It did. The word seemed to hang in the air, charged with meaning. The alien, who had once been abandoned, who had been left to die on Earth, was now speaking the word that humanity had longed for. Peace. But what did it mean? Was the alien simply repeating a word it had heard from the videos, or was there something deeper to it? And more importantly, what was the alien trying to tell them about its people and the galaxy it came from? As the days went on, the alien began to make more sounds, more attempts at speech. It would utter simple words here and there, sometimes echoing what it had seen in the videos, sometimes using words it had learned from Dr. Turner. But peace was the word that lingered in the air, the word that seemed to hold the key to everything. Harris was beginning to wonder whether the alien was offering a message, a plea for something more than just survival. Perhaps it was more than just a soldier or an outcast. Maybe it was a messenger, someone who had seen the horrors of war and had come to Earth seeking something humanity had in abundance, hope. One evening, as they sat together in the observation room, the alien turned to Captain Harris. Its glowing eyes locked onto his, and for a moment, it seemed to be searching for something in his expression. Harris met its gaze, feeling a strange connection forming between them. "Do you want peace?" Harris asked, his voice calm but tinged with curiosity. The alien nodded slowly, its eyes deep with meaning. "Peace," it repeated. At that moment, Harris realized that this was no longer just about the alien and humanity. This was about something much bigger. The galaxy was a vast and dangerous place, filled with factions, wars, and countless civilizations. And yet, here on Earth, an alien, a creature from another world, was offering humanity the chance to stand for something greater. It was offering them a chance to seek peace, to break free from the cycle of violence that had plagued the universe for so long. But the question remained, could humanity actually accept that challenge? Could they understand what the alien was offering and use it to change the course of history? As the night stretched on, Harris couldn't help but wonder if this was the beginning of something much more profound. He had known that humanity was capable of great things, but this was something extraordinary. And the alien, the once mocked outcast, had shown them the way. In that moment, Harris made a silent vow. He would protect this creature, this symbol of peace, at all costs. Because if humanity could rise to the occasion, if they could find the courage to believe in the possibility of peace, they could change everything. The journey was just beginning, and it would be up to humanity to decide what path they would take. Would they embrace peace, or would they let the violence of the galaxy define them? As the alien rested quietly in the corner of the room, its eyes closed in a peaceful slumber, Harris stood watch, filled with a new sense of purpose. Whatever came next, they would face it together, humans and aliens united in their quest for something greater than themselves. The days following the aliens' declaration of peace were filled with anticipation and uncertainty. Captain Harris and Dr. Turner couldn't help but feel a growing sense of responsibility. The world had been watching, waiting for humanity to take its place among the stars. Now, with the alien in their custody, humanity had an unprecedented opportunity to make its mark, not just as survivors, but as a force for something greater, something much more important. The alien had not only survived on Earth, but it had also taught them something invaluable. It had shown them that even in the darkest of times, there was hope. There was peace to be found. The alien had rejected the violence of its own people, or perhaps had been rejected by them. And now it was offering humanity a chance to break free from the same destructive cycle. But that wasn't going to be easy. The galaxy was filled with dangerous forces. Powerful empires, ruthless conquerors, and ancient threats were watching Earth, waiting for any sign of weakness. And the alien, now the symbol of peace, had become a target. A symbol that could either unite humanity or tear it apart. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight pierced the horizon, Captain Harris and Dr. Turner stood together outside the secure facility where the alien rested. They had been working tirelessly, developing new methods of communication, understanding more about the creature's language, and beginning to learn more about its origins. "I've been thinking a lot about what the alien said," Dr. Turner remarked, gazing out at the sky. "It's not just the word peace, it's the idea behind it. The hope that there's something more than endless conflict. We've been given a choice." Harris nodded, his arms crossed as he gazed across the horizon. He was starting to feel the weight of the situation. We've been given a chance to make a difference. But we need to be careful. The galaxy's watching, and if we move too fast, we could trigger a conflict that we're not ready for. The sound of footsteps behind them interrupted the moment. Sergeant Marcus, a member of the team assigned to oversee the alien's safety, approached with a worried look on his face. "Captain, Dr. Turner, we've got a situation," he said, his voice tense. "It's the fleet. They're moving closer." Harris and Turner exchanged a look. The fleet, the ships belonging to the Galactic Empire that had once mocked Earth, now they were here, at their doorstep. "What do we know?" Harris asked, his tone calm but firm. "They're not making any aggressive moves yet," Marcus replied. "But their proximity is concerning. They've definitely noticed the alien's presence. We're not sure what they want, but it's clear they've taken an interest." Dr. Turner stepped forward, her mind racing. The alien. Could it be that they've come to find it? To destroy it? Harris frowned. "It's possible, but we can't afford to panic. We need to know what their intentions are. And if they're here to take the alien, we'll need to be ready." The team gathered, working quickly to prepare the facility for any potential conflict. Meanwhile, Dr. Turner spent hours with the alien, trying to communicate. The alien had become more and more attuned to human speech, though it still couldn't express everything it knew. It was clear that the alien was both fearful and hopeful. It knew that the time had come for humanity to decide what kind of future they wanted. As the day wore on, the first of the alien fleet's ships entered Earth's orbit. Their massive, imposing presence loomed over the planet like a storm cloud. Harris felt a chill run down his spine as the fleet's ships surrounded Earth's orbit. No communication had been received. The galaxy's most powerful empire was here, and humanity was standing at a crossroads. "We've made it this far," Harris said quietly. "Now we need to show them that we're not just another weak species. We're Earth, and we've got the strength to protect what's ours." Dr. Turner stood by his side, her eyes filled with determination. "And we have the alien with us. We don't know everything about its past, but we know this much: it believes in peace. It's up to us to make sure that message gets through." The tension in the air was palpable as the ships from the Galactic Empire descended, their sleek, angular shapes dwarfing any human-made spacecraft. Earth's defenses were prepared, but against such advanced technology, there was little hope of matching their strength in terms of firepower. However, humanity had something that the alien empire did not resolve. The alien had shown them the way. And with that knowledge, Earth was no longer the weak, insignificant planet it once had been. As the alien fleet's command ship sent a communication signal to Earth, the moment of truth arrived. Harris stepped forward, preparing to receive the transmission. "This is Earth. We're listening." A deep voice crackled through the comms, unmistakable in its authority. "Humans, you have something that does not belong to you." Harris held his ground. "You're mistaken. We have something that belongs to all of us." The alien, now standing next to Harris and Dr. Turner, let out a low sound that seemed to resonate with the command ship. It was as if the creature was calling out to them. Was it a sign of peace or a challenge? "We stand together, Harris said, his voice unwavering. "And we will defend this peace. We're no longer just Earth. We are a part of something greater." The alien nodded slowly, its eyes glowing softly. It had offered humanity peace, and now humanity would defend it, together. As the transmission continued, Harris knew that whatever came next would shape the future of Earth and the entire galaxy. The battle for peace was just beginning, and humanity was ready.